Hello, mathematicians. Today we're going to be learning about the coordinate plane, more specifically reflections of coordinates over the x-axis. To get us started, here we have a vertical number line with the number 4 graphed on it. So the point graphed at 4 is 4 units above 0. The point that is the same number of units below 0 is negative 4. Which means that negative 4 is the opposite of 4. Whenever we're working with reflections, we're also going to be working a lot with opposites. So let's dive into reflections on a coordinate so we can make connections on how it relates to opposites and how understanding opposites could help us reflect over the x-axis. On a coordinate plane, a reflection happens when a point or shape flips over a line, like looking at a mirror image, the same but opposite. A reflection over the x-axis keeps the x-coordinate the same, while the y-coordinate changes sign, so positive becomes negative or negative becomes positive. The new reflected point is named using a prime symbol, so we're going to go over what that means very soon. So for example, if we started off with the point 0,4, after reflecting over the x-axis, the new point would be 0, negative 4. So let's see that. Here we have a point which is 0,4, and we're going to call that point A. Here we have the x-axis, and the x-axis is the horizontal line on the graph. So it's the line that goes left to right. Our point here, 0,4, is 4 units above the x-axis. If we want to reflect it over the x-axis, that means it's going to move 4 units below the x-axis. So it's going to be the opposite. The point stays the same distance from the x-axis, but on the opposite side. So we're going to go down 4 units. And then we're going to plot our point. So these are reflections over the x-axis. They're equal distance from the x-axis, but they're on opposite sides. So one more thing before we move on to our next example. Notice that we were dealing with our coordinate A, and after we reflected A, we named our new point A prime to show that this new point is a reflection of our original point. In our new example, we have point B, which is at 3, 2. Remember that we're reflecting it over the x-axis, and the x-axis is the horizontal line on our graph. So point B is 2 units above the x-axis. After we reflect it over the x-axis, it's going to move 2 units below the x-axis because that is the opposite of 2 units above the x-axis. The point stays the same distance from the x-axis, but on the opposite side. So if we go 2 units below the x-axis, our new point is going to be at 3, negative 2. So because we're reflecting point B, we're going to call our new point B prime. So we put that little symbol next to B, and we'll write out our new point, which is 3, negative 2. Here we have our next example, which is point C. Point C is at negative 2, negative 4. And remember that we're reflecting over the x-axis. The x-axis is the horizontal line on our graph. And so we're going to see how far away this point is from the x-axis. This point is 4 units below the x-axis, and we could tell that also by looking at our y value, which is negative 4. So if we reflect this over the x-axis, our new point is going to move 4 units above the x-axis. The point stays the same distance from the x-axis, but it's on the opposite side. So we're going to plot it 4 units above the x-axis, And now we have our reflection, which is point C prime at -2, 4. Here we have our final example, which is point D. Point D is currently at 1, -3. Again, we're reflecting over the x-axis, which is the horizontal line on our graph. Our point D is 3 units below the x-axis. And so if we reflect that, then our new point moves 3 units above the x-axis. The point stays the same distance from the x-axis, but on the opposite side. So after we reflect D, we get D prime, which is at 1, 3.